This week in gaming, Modern Warfare 2 launches to a great start, but not without controversy. Overwatch 2 gets in trouble for its microtransactions, the Callisto Protocol gets banned in Japan, and Assassin's Creed Infinity gets discussed. Although I have no idea what it is. Let's get stuck in. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 launched this week, and it's off to a great start with 262,000 concurrent players, hitting third on Steam, and also obviously being the top of their sales charts. This is especially impressive considering over PC the sales are actually split between Battle.net and Steam, as well as obviously having the Xbox and PlayStation sales. For a game which is supposed to last 2 years, I'm sure Activision will be happy with the performance of this one. Despite this though, Modern Warfare 2 is far from perfect, with one of the most complained things being about the actual UI being trash. And I have to say, I completely agree. In fact, it looks like they've taken the Warzone store page, which in my opinion was awful as it was. I have no idea why anyone would look at that and think, yeah, that's what we should have for our next major game. They basically just spam tiles all over the screen and seem to be trying to make things look as complicated as possible, which isn't exactly what I would have expected in a Call of Duty game. And it's not without its bugs either, considering they had to disable the ping function because it was allowing people to wall hack one player for the remainder of the game. All you had to do was ping an enemy on the death screen, and that same ping would last for the entire game, which enabled you to track one person of your choice, which, hey, if you make that the kill leader, you're probably in for a good time. And there was a bit of controversy when people found out all of the PlayStation exclusive content that was coming out, which is especially ironic considering how much Sony was complaining about the Microsoft acquisition and going, no, we can't have Call of Duty being exclusive. As long as we get all of the exclusive features, though, that's fine. Maybe want to make hay while the sun is shining, Sony, because I'm not sure that one will be allowed to last. And PlayStation has one more exclusive feature, which is they're the only ones which are allowed to disable crossplay. Both PC and Xbox can't in-game, which is weird, considering in the beta, PC was allowed to turn off crossplay whenever they wanted, but it's been specifically removed for launch. I don't know whether this is meant to be a bug or an intended feature. Well, feature. But it is one which is a personal bugbear of mine. I want players to be given more choices about how they play the game, not have them taken away and forced into lobbies which they either don't enjoy or don't want to be in. Add all this onto this skill-based matchmaking debate which has been raging since the beginning of time, and Call of Duty at the moment is a success, but isn't without its controversy, and so it's going to be interesting to see how well these results last in the long term, and does it have the legs which are required to make it last for the next 2 years, especially once Warzone 2's come out. One problem that isn't going away anytime soon in gaming is microtransactions, and in the same week Subnautica devs actually totally removed microtransactions from an early access game, a turn-based strategy game based around minis and made in combination with Brandon Sanderson. Overwatch has actually fallen in trouble for the incredibly stupid cost they've made for their skins, coming in at $25 for a Kiriko Skin, which, let's be honest, is pretty cool, but nothing special, certainly not $25 worth. Now, it has been commented that the $25 is for the bundle and not the skin, but these bundles are basically full of trash. It's full of stuff that you probably don't want, and the skin is not available separately, and so $25 is exactly what you're gonna have to pay for it. It seems like an incredible rip-off to me. This comes on top of the fact that someone actually managed to buy one of the Overwatch 2 charms in real life cheaper than it is available digitally in the game, which is insane when a real-life item you can only sell once, but a digital model can be sold an infinite amount of times for next to no overhead. None of this makes any sense. Everyone understands that a free-to-play game has to make money, but when your battle pass is a fraction of the cost of one single skin for an event, something has gone horribly wrong there, and Blizzard have proven that they are more than willing to milk every single penny they can. Although I think when you're charging $25 for this, you're probably pricing yourself out of the market, and you'd actually end up making a lot more money at a fraction of the cost. And the crazy prices on display for Overwatch have made people concerned about other Blizzard games as well, especially Diablo 4 when it's coming up, as Diablo already isn't immune to this effect. When you think about Diablo Immortal and the massive pay-to-win disaster that that game was. As some people are fearful that what happened to Overwatch 1 could happen to Diablo, other people have responded that, oh no, it's a AAA game and Blizzard definitely won't be pulling that trick on us when we're paying full price for it. Personally, I don't exactly have the confidence in Blizzard that they do. It's due in 2023, and with Blizzard reassuring everyone that no. The microtransactions in this certainly won't be to the same effect that they will in those other games, quite frankly, I'll believe it when I see it. The Callisto Protocol is set to cancel its Japanese release over censorship concerns. They released this post on Twitter when it happened, obviously in Japanese, which translates to the Japanese version of the Callisto Protocol has been discontinued. At present, we've decided that we will not be able to pass the Kuro test, and if we change the content, we will not be able to provide the experience the player expects. I would appreciate it if everyone in Japan understands. This is a bit of a double-edged sword because on the one hand, a load of players now won't be able to play the game unless they sort of go around the usual channels. But on the other hand, I'm glad that the developer is sticking to the vision they want for the game and want the players to actually experience it, rather than having some dumbed-down version just because one person can't handle it and decide that because they think it's too much, the rest of the country can't experience it either. The Callisto Protocol is looking to be an incredibly gory game with some very gruesome finishes, which is likely the reason why it couldn't pass Japan's standards in the first place. And while it is true that they could change the game in order to get it passed, this is meant to be a horror game. Gore was sort of the entire point of it existing. And so if the only way you can actually get your game to be released is to absolutely rip out its heart, then it kinda defeats the object of releasing it in that country in the first place. Do they really want to play a game which has had its entire soul removed? As in that case, I think anyone that really wants to experience the game would probably have found unlocked versions of it in the first place. People who pre-ordered the game are being refunded, and I think this is going to be one of those instances where actually banning the game makes more people play it than would have done originally, because now loads of people have heard about it, there's a lot more hype, and if anything, this is going to do wonders for the Callisto Protocol's worldwide marketing and their reputation. If you're making a horror game, getting banned from a country for too much violence of gore is basically a gold standard of free marketing. CG Projekt have announced that they're going to remake the first Witcher game. It's a good game, but at this time it is a bit clunky, and the combat system is definitely not up to snuff when you compare it to the later versions like Witcher 3. The remake is going to be built on Unreal Engine 5 and use the same toolset which The Witcher 4 is being made on, although this remake won't be done in-house and is being handed off to a third-party studio. Fool's Theory is a studio that was set up by someone who worked at CG Projekt for 5 years, and he was involved in both the creation of Witcher 2 and 3, and so he knows what goes into building these RPGs as it is. His studio itself has worked to support some other major RPGs, including Baldur's Gate 3 and Divinity Original Sin 2, as well as Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice and Outriders. Now, there are some concerns when they say that this is going to be a modern reimagining of the game, which I don't think is what anyone wants. There's definitely some room for improvements when it comes to the combat, the graphics, and honestly, even handling the map. It was very clunky to even find some of the NPCs at times. But one thing I don't think anyone wants is a modern reimagining of the story. You can keep that well alone, keep the base game as it is, and just update the sort of peripherals, the outer edges, make everything nice and shiny, and I think it'll do well. But in a day and age where everything is being remade for a modern audience and it turns to crap, I really hope that they know what they're doing with this one. At the moment, the jury's out, and as we get closer to the time, I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot about this one. Have you ever had a game developer describe a game to you and come away having absolutely no idea what they've just said? Welcome to Ubisoft. At a recent financial report, Assassin's Creed Infinity has been described as a hub for future games, as well as opaque experiences in the series. This is going to be a gateway for the franchise, as well as a place where there's a meta-story that will live asynchronously. At its heart, Assassin's Creed Infinity will be a gateway for all Assassin's Creed games where the meta-story will live asynchronously. This project will allow us to link games with a common and more coherent narrative thread that will reward players for their involvement in the universe, driving engagement, while at the same time providing more discoverability for the content we create. Do you know what the game is yet? Because I have absolutely no idea. The gold standard for game developers at the moment seem to be to make one game which allows you to link other games to it in the future, but still actually not lose the player base and unify everyone under one common umbrella. Call of Duty seems to be doing that right now when it comes to things like Warzone. They kind of plug in extra modes, which players definitely seem to consider a different game in its own right. It definitely has its advantages. Not only can you get them to purchase the main game, but you don't even have to finish everything in one go, because it's considered its own separate thing. Hey, if you release Warzone a few months down the line, who's really bothered about that? They're just going to play the multiplayer until that one's released. Even though really, when you think about it, it's just a separate mode for Call of Duty. Is this gateway idea simply a way for them to avoid the early access title and just actually instead release games in piecemeal without annoying the player base by making them think they've got unfinished games? Maybe if we talk about a meta story that lives asynchronously, no one will actually realize that we've kind of cut the game in half and just released it in 2 parts. Honestly, the more pretentious marketing speak gets involved in gaming, the more cynical I am of all of it. It generally seems to be a way to get gamers to accept an unfinished product released too early, but still at the same price as it used to be for the full game. But at this point, maybe I've just seen too much and I'm too cynical about the whole debacle. Assassin's Creed is going to be getting a standalone multiplayer game, which is being designed from the same people who did For Honor. The thing is, as this is being pitched as a standalone experience being delivered through Infinity, I do think that gives credence to the fact that it's just a way of delivering games piecemeal. I kind of expect multiplayer to be a standard part of the game, although now it's being treated as a whole separate standalone experience. We'll have to wait for more information about what exactly Assassin's Creed Infinity is before we can get confirmation, but at the moment, I am dubious at best. But for now, that's it from me. If you liked the video, press like, subscribe, more videos like this in the future, and let me know what you thought of any of the topics down below in the comments. For now, that's it from me. I'll see you in the next one, and bye-bye.